Hey guys and girls, King Lear here from Proceed to Checkpoint, and welcome back to Pokemon Essentials. So, I've had a request from the Gengar King to do a video on choosing a starter Pokemon and how to prevent the player from leaving the town until they have chosen a starter Pokemon. I want to call out at the start of this, I have had to reformat my computer since the last Pokemon Essentials video, so I've lost the progress and the stuff that I had done previous to now in the other videos. I will work on getting back to that point, but at the moment I'm just going with sample maps. There aren't a whole lot of events and things like that in there because I haven't had time to rebuild the maps that I had created yet. But we're going to use this one. And we are going to roll with it, and I can show you how to do what I'm trying to show you. So, the first thing that you want to do when you are creating this, let me just close Skype there, is, so I'll show you what I have so far. We have the player here. We don't have any other maps done, so we've nowhere for the player to go. All of the doors and stuff work, but there's no events program, so you can't actually talk to anyone or anything like that. If we go into the lab, there's nothing really in here except Professor Oak at the moment, and he doesn't do anything. So we're going to be pretty much building this from scratch. So the first thing that we want to do is we want to make sure that the player cannot leave the town unless he has chosen a Pokemon. So to do that, I am going to put some flowers here to demonstrate. So my plan is the player won't be able to step onto these flowers until they have chosen a Pokemon. So at the moment, if we loaded this up, the player could just step onto those flowers, no problem. So what we need to do is we need to create an event blocking these flowers. We'll need two events because there's two spaces that the player can go, but the same event can be used in both places. So if we create a new event, we'll call this no leave, and we want a conditional switch on this. Actually, we don't. We want a variable on this. And the variable we want for this event is starter choice. So this will trigger when the variable starter choice is 0 or above. We want to change that 0 to 1. So when the starter choice is 1 or above, this event page here will trigger. Now, we want to create a new event page that will trigger when this isn't true. So if the starter choice is 1 or above, then whatever is in here will happen. And if it's not, whatever's on this page here will happen. So the starter choice variable is what we use when the player gets a Pokemon. Normally there's 3 choices of Pokemon. So if they choose a Bulbasaur, we'll set it to 1. If they choose a Squirtle, we'll set it to 2. And if they choose a Charmander, we'll set it to 3. This variable starts at 0, so the only time it should be 0 is when the player hasn't yet chosen a Pokemon and we haven't changed this variable. So when the starter choice is 1 or above, this means the player has chosen a Pokemon. So we just keep this page blank. We don't want this event to do anything if starter choice is 1 or above. However, if starter choice is not 1 or above, that means it's 0, so the player hasn't chosen a Pokemon. And what we want to do here is we want to set an event up. We want to show the text, you must choose a Pokemon before skipping town. And we want to insert a event. We want to insert, which am I looking for? I am looking for set move route for the player. And we want to move the player down. And then we can just copy this event and put it here. So what this is doing now, if starter choice is 1 or above, nothing will happen. If it's not, it'll tell the player, you must choose a Pokemon before skipping town, and it'll move them down 1 square. We want these to be player touch events, because when the player walks onto them, that's when we want them to trigger. So let's have a look and see if this works. We'll load up Lappet Town. And boom, you must choose a Pokemon before skipping town. And we're being sent back again. So we now won't be able to leave the town until we have chosen a Pokemon. Now that's a bit problematic at the moment, because we've no Pokemon to choose from. So that's our next step now, is to give the player the option to choose a Pokemon. So I'm going to create some new events here. And actually, you know what? I'm going to copy these events. And I'm going to paste them in here. But I'm going to edit them. They're going to do much the same thing, except this time they are going to say Professor Oak wants you to pick a Pokemon. And they're going to move the player up instead of down. So let's copy this. This isn't going to work, actually. Oh, actually, this will work. So let's set each of these to player touch events. They already are. Awesome. So now if we load up the game, we can see I can't leave town until I've got a Pokemon. And once I walk into Professor Oak's lab, Professor Oak wants you to pick a Pokemon, and it'll move me up. And now I can't leave the lab until I've chosen a Pokemon, because this event is just going to keep forcing me back up again. Now let's have a quick chat to Professor Oak here. And again, we want an event page that triggers when the starter choice is 1 or above. And we want these to be action events. So if the player hasn't chosen a Pokemon, we want Professor Oak to say, pick a Pokemon, player name. And if starter choice is 1 or above, so if the player has chosen a Pokemon, we want them to say, that's an awesome Pokemon, player name. So let's see if this works now. He should tell us to pick a Pokemon. Pick a Pokemon. Yep. And we won't be able to leave until we have. So, now, what do we need? We need Pokemon to choose from. Let's create events. And we want them to have the appearance of a Pokeball. Now, there should be a Pokeball in here somewhere. There we go. So we want to choose a Pokeball appearance for this event. So here is a Pokeball. And Again, we want a variable here. So we want, well, the first page shouldn't have a variable. The second page should be, again, starter choice 1 or above. So when starter choice is 1 or above, when the player has chosen a Pokeball, we should call this event, or we should have this say, you've already got a Pokemon, Greedy Guts. There we go. Now, in order to have the player choose a Pokemon, you can go back to the examples that the game provides, and you can see the script for adding Pokemon in the lab. So the script is simply PB add Pokemon, PB species, and then the type of Pokemon. So let's go back and set up our event. So the first thing you want to do is you want to insert a script, and you want Professor Oak to say, so you want a Bulbasaur, the grass Pokemon. Then you want the player to be able to choose yes or no. You don't want them to be able to cancel out of the choice. When the player chooses no, he should say, choose carefully. And when the player chooses yes, this is where it gets interesting. So when the player chooses yes, they're picking a Bulbasaur. So we want to set the variable starter choice to 1. And this is where our script comes in handy. We want to insert this script in here, which is again simply PB, add Pokemon, PB species, 2 colons, and then the name of the Pokemon. So Bulbasaur, comma, and then its level. So we are going to give the player a level 5 Bulbasaur here. And change the starter choice to 1. Now we can do this for multiple different Pokemon. So if they choose Squirtle, we want the starter choice variable to change to 2, and we want to instead give them a Squirtle. So you want Squirtle, the water Pokemon. And again, you can do the same thing for Charmander as well. So you want a Charmander, the fire Pokemon. I should probably learn how to spell fire first. When they choose Charmander, we want the variable to be 3. And we want to give him a Charmander. So let's test this. Let's see. Let's see how this is going so far. So again, we don't have a Pokemon. We can't skip town. So we better head off to the lab. He wants us to pick a Pokemon. Pick a Pokemon. I don't want to. Oh, I have to. Okay, so you want a Bulbasaur, the grass Pokemon? No, I don't. Choose carefully. So you want a Squirtle, the water Pokemon? No. So you want a Charmander, the fire Pokemon? No, I don't. Seriously, have I got to pick a Pokemon? Yeah, I do. Okay, so he won't let me leave and he won't say anything else until I pick a Pokemon. Do I want Bulbasaur? Not really. Do I want Squirtle? Squirtle's pretty cool. He has sunglasses, but no, I'm gonna go with Charmander. So you want Charmander, the fire Pokemon? Yes. Obtain Charmander. Would you like to give a nickname to Charmander? No. So now I have a Charmander. Professor Oak tells me that's an awesome Pokemon. Oh, I can't leave. So there's a bug. So, couple of issues that I spotted there. The first is, as soon as we chose a Pokemon, all of the Pokeballs vanished. We don't want that to happen. So we need to edit these event pages so that the second page has a Pokeball on it as well. So now those Pokemon will stay there, or those Pokeballs will stay there. And what went wrong with these events then? So if starter choice is 1 or above, it shouldn't do anything. However, okay, so what happens if I put that trigger first? I don't think this will make a difference. I'm not the greatest Pokemon Essentials expert, so some of this is going to be trial and error, so bear with me. Professor Oak wants us to pick a Pokemon. We want a Charmander. Don't want to give it a nickname. This time the Pokeballs stay there. Professor Oak is all like, that's an awesome Pokemon. And now we can leave. Okay, so the order that the event pages are in matters. So we need to swap the order of the pages. We need the starter choice is 1 or above to be after this one. So now this should work. You may have spotted something weird as well there. When we chose Charmander, the Pokeball for Charmander stayed there. How do we fix that? That's easy enough. So every event has a self switch. And this self switch is a switch that only applies to that one single event. So what we want to do is when the player receives their Pokemon, we want to turn the self switch for this event on. We want a new event page that says when the self switch is on, there's no appearance of the Pokeballs. So you see here, the event is blank. So when the self switch A on this event is on, the Pokeball won't appear. So let's do this for each of them. Self switch A on. New event page, self switch A on, no Pokeball. No text either. Self switch A on, boom. Okay, so now this should work. Can we leave? Nope, we can't leave. Oh. Professor Oak wants you to pick a Pokemon. Professor Oak wants me to pick a Pokemon. Pick a damn Pokemon! Alright, alright. I want Charmander, the fire Pokemon. I'll have him, thank you. And Charmander's Pokeball disappears, but I can still interact with these ones who tell me, you've already got a Pokemon. Professor Oak says that's an awesome Pokemon. And now this event won't trigger, so I can fuck off out of here. Now here's the real test. Can I leave town? No, I cannot. And you know why I can't leave town? Let's save the game here because we verified everything before this works. Let's go back to Lappa Town. We can't leave town because the events are in the wrong order. So let's correct that. So now the Starter Choice 1 event is after this event. Now can we leave town? We can leave town. We also have our Pokemon. Our little level 5 Charmander there. There we go. What a cute little Pokemon. So hopefully that has explained how to set up a trigger so that you can't leave town unless you've chosen a Pokemon. You can create all kinds of events. You can edit them any way you want. You can have any kind of text appear or anything like that. But that's just the basics of how to set up that type of event. Feel free to experiment with it and play around as much as you like. But that's essentially how you prevent a player from leaving town until they choose a Pokemon, and how you set up a script to give the player a Pokemon. The final thing I'm going to show you how to do, and this is very, very simple. Again, taking a look at this here. Stealing scripts from the sample maps, which works fantastically. If we look at the Professor's Lab, if we create a new event here, let's set a self switch up. Self switch A is on. Now we want to give the player a Pokédex. So we create an event, we find something that looks like a Pokédex. I think this is actually on the tile set. There we go. You have obtained a Pokédex. And then we need to set self-switch A for this event on. And actually, let's have a variable requirement for this. Starter choice 1 or above. So what this is going to do is if let's reorder this. You don't need this yet. So what this is going to do is there will be an event there with the Pokédex picture. It'll say you don't need this yet if any of the other conditions aren't met. However, if starter choice is 1 or above, so if the player has chosen a Pokemon, it will run the script %trainer.pokédex equals true, which should give the player a Pokédex. It'll tell them you have obtained a Pokédex, and it'll turn self-switch A for this event on. If self-switch A for this event is on, so if the player has gotten the Pokédex, then there'll be no image of a Pokédex and the event won't do anything at all. So let's test this out. So we have a Pokemon, so this should just give us the Pokédex now. Oh, I can't interact with this. I forget how to do this. I need to go into the database I need to go into the tile sets. I need to look for that bench. That the Pokédex is sitting on. Actually, we're in this tile set. We're in the indoor one, aren't we? So I think it's probably this one. So I'm going to give these a counter flag. And what the counter flag means is players will be able to interact with things that are on top of them as if they're reaching over a counter. Let's see if that works. You have obtained a Pokédex. And the Pokédex disappears. And we now have a Pokédex. We've only got Charmander in there, but we have one. So, there you go. Again, sorry for how simplistic this video is. I didn't do any crazy events. I didn't do the professor running up or anything like that. But you can pretty much do anything you want with those events. I just wanted to show you the scripts for giving a player a Pokemon, giving a player a Pokédex, and how to set up a very simple you can't leave until you have a Pokemon, and giving the player a Pokemon type situation. Hopefully you've enjoyed this. Hopefully it's helped you. Hit like and subscribe if you have enjoyed it. And drop a comment. Let me know if you have any questions. Let me know if anything in this wasn't clear or if you're having any trouble with your own projects. I'm not an expert, but I'll help out in any way that I can. Thank you very much for watching, guys, and have a great day. Bye-bye.